Now we're attaching your shorts, both sides, to each other through the center seam. So I've got one side of my shorts here, right side's up, and bring in the second side, make sure the right sides are together. I like to start at the center seam, the inseam I mean. So I'll match up these two seam allowances. I like to pin both sides of it down just to make sure my seam allowance doesn't get twisted up when I'm stitching it, stays flat. I will come up to the top of the back pant piece and pin that as well. And then you will work the entire way through this back section. I like to work on the middle of the curve next, make sure I've got that matching up. And then I'll continue pinning that back section. Let's take a look at the front. So we've got just open out that seam you pressed under. So while we're stitching it together, you'll have your left front fly facing out, so your seam allowance is facing out as well. But I still pin this top section here, matching up the two center fronts, just to make sure everything's staying aligned and where it's supposed to while I'm sewing this seam, because it's a bit tricky to see because you've got this front left fly in the way. Now I've actually marked my notch with a pin, just especially in this dark fabric, and also just so that when I'm sewing it down I'm not making any mistakes. I'm just going to pin through this curved section. Okay, so again, add some more pins through the back if you feel that you need to. I know I'm sewing up to my notch here, I've marked that with a pin. The only other thing you need to know is that when you do sew up through this section, you are going to come past the bottom of the left front fly just a little bit, and you want to sew literally 1 to 2 mil inside your previous stitching line. So there's 2 stitching lines there. The one towards the outside is your understitching, so we're not looking at that. We're looking at the stitching line on the left. Well, if you're looking at it this way, the left. And when you come through with your seam allowance, you want to come ever so slightly just inside your first stitching line there, so that when you turn this to the inside, your seam allowance, it all sits flat.